This is opportunity knocking. Whether you're familiar with HomeTeam Game Dev or just learning about it now, there's something coming on for the next 10 days after this video. So really just within January of 2021, that should be on your radar. So HomeTeam Game Dev, of course, exists because many people struggle to make games all by themselves. And HomeTeam Game Dev's approach helps people learn to make games as a team, from home. By making games as a team, we can make better games in less time than when we do it all by ourselves. Now, normally, because we've been doing this successfully for years, we've had a bit of a wait list. And even though we started a new second group, now that other group is a similar activity level as our first. Well, we just started, literally a week ago, Lighthouse, the new third group of HomeTeam Game Dev. And because it's new, very few former applications had a way to apply to it. They could check boxes for applying to the old two groups. We've reached out to a few, but for the most part, it's a new bunch of people. That means that if you apply soon, there might be basically no waitlist. You can be part of our process literally within days. And the way it works is you go to hometeamgamedev.com. You can read more about it there. Click on Apply Today. And their short application, it really is short. You're not writing pages of stuff. You're not filling out essays. You don't have to send a full CV or anything. It's just not like you're applying for a job. You don't have to impress anybody. It's more of just trying to figure out, does someone know what they're getting themselves into? Which we've identified, even in the case of where the new group doesn't have a waitlist, it's still a valuable part of the process, because what we've discovered is when you're on the other side of it, it's going to help make sure you have better members coming in alongside you. And ultimately, that community group, in addition to the training resources, in addition to the support from professional mentors and trainers, in addition to the structure we provide for the projects, the community around you is going to be a major part of the learning process, because our community is really fundamentally driven by largely teaching ourselves what we can, and then when we get stuck, working with our trainers, working with me, and our processes are all in place to make sure that we're releasing games. And this is how we've released more than 100 games since 2015. And you can play all of those at hometeamgamedev.com/games. At the top of that list, you're going to see a list of game changers. You can think of that as kind of a most common contributors recognition. People who've been most involved in our group. It really comes down to they were involved at least 2 out of every 3 weeks of a quarter. Now, speaking of applying to Lighthouse while there's still basically no waitlist yet, it's also a great time because you'll be a founding member of that group. Now think about what this means. When you join Apollo, which now has a whole bunch of people who've been making games together for years, they're happy to welcome you, they're happy to be part of the process, but it's harder to get to know all of them all at once. When you come in as a founding member of Lighthouse, right now we literally have 12 people, and soon there will be more, but it's going to be much easier for people who come in to get to know you than the other way around. It's going to be much easier for you to get to know everyone else who's also equally new there. And moreover, speaking of this game changer list, normally the goal for game changer is 8 weeks of commits a quarter. A quarter typically has 12 to 14 weeks, so it works out to about, like I say, 2 out of every 3 weeks. However, by being a founding member of Lighthouse, you get a +2 head start. And the reason for that, of course, is we didn't start Lighthouse until 2 weeks into the quarter. Wouldn't be fair to count those against you. Meanwhile, it gives you a bit of advantage for the fact that there's some additional challenges to ramping up a whole new system, and that's what we're currently doing, but it's working great. We already have people running projects, starting projects, got a new pitch coming this weekend. Last Sunday, we had a project pitched in JavaScript. This coming weekend, one in Unity C#. We work in both platforms. We also train people in both platforms, provide professional assistance in both, have learning resources for both. So whether you're new to those, just want to learn them, whether you've been using those for a while and want to work with others who are also building things in them, or if there's a kind of game you want to build, a lot of what we do is all of our projects are led and pitched by members. It's not like you're coming into some place and building somebody else's thing. Now, they're all shared community projects. You can chip on each other's stuff, and certainly it's encouraged and a major part of our process. But also, if there's a kind of game you want to make, we help you get it started and going. And then it's even easier to build because you have teammates, because you have collaborators, because you have support, because you have a schedule we've thought through ahead of time, because you have a release date that we nail. We've released over 100 games on time. On longer schedules, 6 weeks to 6 months. Now, I do like to stress in there that this is not something we're expecting you're doing this full time. On average, our members contribute about 6 hours plus or minus a week. Some members as few as 1 or 2 a week. Some members maybe even few hours a month if it's a particularly tricky month. But in some other cases on the high end, at most, literally at most, and this is super rare, maybe 10 to 12 hours a week if someone's leading a project and they've got a bunch of extra time on their hands. But for the most part, 6 is pretty typical. So our expectation is most of our members have full-time jobs and or classes and or helping raise family or other obligations going on in real life, in which we help make game development a sustainable thing that we can do to practice. Now, it's also a system where it is 1 week at a time and with no commitment. So when you apply, there's no cost for the application. There's no setup fee. There's no minimum contract term. It literally is something where you apply, you'll hear back from us. And again, if you apply to the Lighthouse group, you just check that box at the bottom of the form for, yes, I'm interested in applying to Lighthouse. You'll hear back from us shortly we have a new person handling our admissions process. And you'll have the option then whether or not you choose to join. Now, it's perfectly fine if you don't. You've created no commitment just by applying. If you do decide to, then once again, it is 1 week at a time. So if you're not finding you're getting tremendous value from it, if you're not finding that you're learning stuff, getting involved with people, picking up new skills, producing stuff you never thought you were capable of before, seeing just a long trail behind you of the stuff you're building and learning and doing and demonstrating, well, any given week, you can quit. You can take off. And there's no hard feelings, no upset. We encourage, glad you gave it a try, but it's entirely fine to give it a try for a week and change your mind and be like, nah, it's not for me. Now, that said, as you'll hear in our video at the top of HomeTeamGameDev.com, along where you'll watch video clips from many, many, many games that we've released, we've had a bunch of members with us for years because they're getting tremendous value out of it 1 week at a time. They're finding that they're getting more done in the same 6 hours that they might have been struggling against, stressing out over, getting a little bit of progress done on a solo project. Instead, they're able to do a little bit of stuff over here, level design over there, a little bit of code over here, a little bit of sound over there, take a week off, go back to some other stuff, and just releasing game after game after game, building several in parallel at once comfortably because our process helps make it easier to get more out of the time that they're able to put into it. Just go to HomeTeamGameDev.com, read about any questions there. You've got a whole FAQ that answers a ton of nuances. Apply today will take you to the form. At the bottom of that form, check the box for I'd like to start as part of the new third group. Submit, and we'll be in touch with you in a few days. But I want to thank you for considering this. I want to thank you for taking part of this, and hopefully we'll see you by the end of January 2021 when you can be part of our founding group. As a new member of Home Team Game Dev Lighthouse, we're already off to a great start. Look forward to building games with you there and playing the games that you're going to make.